Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the Witch King under the mountain, and this is my hour. Today, I'm going to be spending a little bit of time looking at the mechanics of the game in the new season of Kings of Men. Probably more time, I would guess, than what the devs have spent looking at the mechanics of the game, looking at how they sort of function. I'll probably just jump straight into it, really. And I don't want this to sound very ranty because I get what they've tried to introduce. I just think what the reality of what's been introduced probably needs a little tweak. And I'm pretty sure the entire player base is pretty frustrated. So here's the map. It hasn't really changed from the other day. The few kingdoms which we said we're going to spawn up have spawned up. So June's kingdom has now been formed. There's also the kingdom over here. I can't ever for the life. Lost Kingdom, which they've got their capital. Good on them. There's a little bit of fighting between Meat and the Loans Department. Or the Loan Office, as they're known. I should probably remember that, really. But the main pins, really, is still at the Undeep's Crossing. So this is where we're going to go into the mechanics a little bit more. So I'm going to painstakingly on BlueStacks now travel across to the crossing. As you can see, I've pressed that and the delay is terrible. Everyone's seemingly having a problem with BlueStacks at the moment and making this work properly. I'm going to talk you through this crossing. So yesterday in the morning we actually took this pass here, which we felt was a big step for us, and it was a 110 million siege with 60 level 45 armies. And to be fair, we took it while the Loan Office were pretty much sleeping. I mean, in all fairness, they are a very heavy sort of North American based setup. So there was a few of them online. There wasn't many, but then we thought, okay, great, let's spread through here. And we got to somewhere over here. And that was about as far as we get because of some of the game mechanics. So at the moment, as you'll see, and this is because this is a kingdom, I cannot march to stack on any blue tile. It blocks me off because it's under kingdom protection. So unless you are unless you do it while the tile is being occupied, there is no way to stack on a tile, which absolutely baffles me. So I'm going to send my formation at this tile here and see how I get on, just so we've got some PvP. So I can basically occupy one of these tiles, which by the way will take 5 minutes to do so. Or I can kind of sit here and hope for the best. So there's no stacking on tiles anymore if you're in someone's kingdom. We thought it was actually a ring buff problem, and they'd activated a ring buff, but it actually isn't a ring buff problem, it's just a game mechanic problem. So, just to go back a step, when we took the pass, because it was taken by Axed, we had 73 armies from Dobie bounce back to their forts because of the way the mechanic worked. So it's quite interesting how pushes are going to be. So realistically, I can't see how anyone actually moves forward. The game is now so laggy. So there's actually an easy way of defending passes, I would say. So many people complained about how they've played on the mobile, and it's sort of stopped them from being able to actually play, and it's kicked them off the game. So the easiest way it seems to defend a pass without losing any troops is just to move 40 armies here if you're defending, and just move them between these two tiles, and it'll crash that many people's game. You'll never do 110 million siege anyway. So I do think they probably need to have a look at that and the graphics rendering also. That said, there has still been a lot of enjoyment in this season, and there's been a lot of great fights, and I think there's been a lot of friendly banter between the sort of two sides, really, that have had a lot of fighting so far. But realistically, because of this, and it was a great strategic move by them, we actually can't move anywhere. We can't get through the Undeeps because if we push, we can't seem to move anywhere. But anyway, we're on the way to that tile. So The other issue that I think a lot of people seem to have um, with this occupying function is now. So you have 5 minutes to occupy a tile, which, as you can see here, rather than just taking the tile straight away. I'm okay with that as a feature, but it would be nice if that was the case. If someone didn't come in and hit, so say if I come in now and hit this tile, I hit this army automatically because there's nothing else on top of it. Say if these two armies move to this tile, I still hit the army that's trying to occupy the tile, and then it switches to the next one down and restarts the 5 minute timer. So I suppose everyone's game mechanics, you're gonna have to rework how you wanna fight people, I suppose. But say if you want to take a 300, and this 200 here, for example, is quite an important tile. It's, more or less connected to the pass. It's quite easily defendable from either side if we can actually get through and do some bits. But the fact that the 5 minute occupation, and then even if you put 30 armies on there while it's being occupied, if someone comes in, they still hit the bottom army. It's not allowing you the time to reinforce, which is one of the key parts of the game, and a whole part of playing as a team was you could sort of protect your fellowship friends while they're reinforced. Other than that, some of the march times are a little bit off. It seems maybe that, say, if before there might be 10 seconds, say, from you to march from this fort to the centre of that tile. As soon as you seem to cross onto the tile, it sort of triggers a combat. So how can I explain it? If you end up in a draw on a tile now, you are very, very easy to kill, because if you instantly start marching, someone's picking up half armies all day long. So the chances of you actually recalling, which, by the way, if you press recall on enemy land, you can't use the stop function. You have to recall. You go all the way back to your fort. So there's no land move, recover, go back. It seems all that's gone. So it's kind of like a trench warfare sort of thing at the moment, and it's quite difficult. Obviously, everyone's still getting used to the mechanics, but you can't seemingly... it's very difficult to move forward, I think, is what I'm trying to say, because you can't really use pathers to path, because if you try and use a pather, they have 5 minutes to kill the pather. You've basically got to go in strong with main armies pretty much constantly, and bear in mind that the keeps are sort of 100 tiles away. Let's just say it's difficult, but it's not stopping the fun, to say the least, from both sides. I think is probably the key while everyone learns. But I know there's been a lot of complaints about the way this works and the sort of mechanics, but to be fair, we're all just kind of getting on with it. As for actual fights, we've been doing okay. I mean, this is from this morning. We hit a stack and went through that tile. So this was the first army. We're sort of trying to use as many sort of mounted units as we can at the moment, to be fair, but we're just a bit short after yesterday because there was quite a lot of fighting yesterday, and I've still got some swans left. So we went through a few armies there, and then through the tile armies, and then died afterwards. Sort of half army hit, and we finally leveled up a couple of commanders. Leveling's still painful with the way the fighting system is, but around this sort of pass area, because of the build-up of people, the game can be quite laggy. So we'll see what happens with this hit in a minute, because there's no way they can stop this hit now, because basically you need 5 minutes to occupy the tile, so that hit's bound to happen. While that's going on, we'll have a look through some others. So painstakingly sieging with eagles this morning to try and get some great beasts. And then this was basically sweeping yesterday just to make sure my siege teams are up, because siege is really important. Probably easier actually to filter by PvP, which the filter function is actually quite good now. Quite like the filter function. So this was yesterday. We did quite a lot of hitting yesterday. We got beat by but I don't know where the actual report for that is, which... This is the problem now sometimes. The report itself should be in here, but it's not there. So I'll try and find that shortly. This is a half army of the second formation. This guy's actually got a really nice formation. With a good shadow. I'd still probably put 1 point in black Numenorian. But I was using sort of a half formation of eagles just to try and get a decent hit in, because this is when we were trying to take the pass yesterday. But this is a really nice sort of group, and obviously he counters my units because he's got the halberdiers, and small units counter large. So it wasn't the best way of me going about it, but we did actually get through that. So just to explain how we took this pass, because it was actually quite clever. It looks like Gandalf's died, I'm guessing, or he's sieged the fort. I'll have a look at that in a minute. So what we did yesterday when we went to take this pass was there was a fort here, because you have to have a fort connected to defend a pass. This is what I mean about the game freezing on BlueStacks at the moment, by the way. So to defend this pass, you have to have a fort connected so they can actually guard. So there was about a 25 stack on here just before we went to try and take the pass. We actually eagle marched over the top, hit this stack, got it to 0, and then tried to 0 the fort with eagles, just so they couldn't defend the pass. Now, we didn't actually manage to get rid of the fort completely, but we got it right down. We got rid of the stack. It meant there was probably only a couple of armies that managed to defend during the time. So it's interesting to see new tactics like that, which work quite well. So some of the mechanics are good. It's frustrating that I think a lot of the mechanics are just quite slow-winded, and they're just not, I suppose, what everyone's used to. We'll see if we can actually get this to load and see what we've done. Doesn't look like we died. There's just nothing in the fort by the looks of things. But yeah, it's going to make content quite hard to create on the game. With the way that it's working now with BlueStacks. So that was quite a nice win for us with not too many losses. But then again, we have a massive, by the looks of things, gear differential. So it's one we'd expect to win, really. See if I can find some reports from yesterday, because we had some really interesting fights yesterday. It's just going to take a bit of scrolling. There was quite a lot of war yesterday in general. I think I picked up about 160,000 prestige yesterday, something like that, maybe a little bit less. Just because it was kind of like a bit of a warring day. And I suppose what is quite nice about the mechanics now is, you know, when you send, you're going to die one way or another. It just depends what you take down with you on the go. So this was a half army hit last night, where we sort of took out half an army. And then got battered really in the second one. But this is where I was down to all sorts of troops that were left. So to say the least, this is not ideal. As far as troop combinations go. Let's see what else we've got. I try and stay sweeping all the time if I'm on the game, just so I can keep my grain levels up. So this was quite a nice hit yesterday. And this was on that 200 again. So we went through quite a few armies and then got taken out by Lord Heck. But yeah, that was good. Again, it was that similar sort of formation with the Swan Knights. Interesting how that's gone from there. We'll have to find that again. Yeah, it's just become a bit painful lately, and I think a lot of people have put, it's the last update that the devs have done, where I think they've put some more HD files in, which has really slowed it down for people. I've changed some settings in BlueStacks, but it's still pretty slow. But a lot of people have actually been complaining about how it's running on the mobiles. Mine's not too bad on the mobile. We're back here again. So yeah, we went through some nice armies here. I think this one was okay from memory. Yeah. Just a quick note, by the way, on Skalhelm as well, because I think some people don't quite realise this sometimes. Because obviously she can do quite a lot of damage, to be fair. The skill order is quite important, so you have to make sure you've got a point in Executioner first before you start filling out Ring Wraith. Just because then it activates the skill order. I think I said in a recent video I unlocked a unique the other day, and I'm quite pleased with it so far. I'm quite pleased with her in general. She's very good at taking out White Council stacks as well early, which is good. So we got through that. That was a good hit. I'm trying to see if we can find a couple more decent fights along the way. Like I say, we did do quite a few yesterday. This one was quite close. Again, less than ideal troop combination, and using my second formation as well, so still good fights. And I think this was one with my main formation, so again we went for a few armies and then got beat in the end. I need to stop pressing the back button because then you have to find it again. Infuriating. Scroll back down again. They actually had as well, you can tell that they're a North American style team because the first few fights yesterday, a lot of them weren't actually wearing full gear, where they'd tried to sort of obviously woke up and forgot about these things, which was quite amusing, and I think a couple of them got quite embarrassed by it. I won't necessarily name one, but I might show one was by a particular streamer who tried to attack me and perhaps forgot to put any gear on his shadow. See if I can find some more of these fights. So this one again, the second formation, and I was using trolls to help trigger Shadow's unique, which seems to work quite well. It keeps his troops alive a little bit more. He's a lot less tanky than some of the other commanders, and loses them quite quick. But trolls are quite expensive. I do like this combination though, because it does work quite well. And then this was another one where we went through a couple of tile armies and actually went through Lord Heck early on, so that goes to show you that we will beat him. Just a little bit of whale watch. Again, is my new favourite thing to say is this guy's formation is probably worth more than my house. Brilliant Gandalf the White. Bjorn with Bjornins, which is interesting. For the allied beast units, but again, really nice gear. I say really nice, beyond really nice. We'll have a quick look at Dane. Hopefully, he says. The problem is we've stayed near the pass, so it does kind of take forever. Yeah, Dane, brilliant again. If anyone knows, by the way, or they found a setting on BlueStacks that now works a lot better than what it currently is, let me know. But I know some people have been struggling with that. Again, brilliant Sauron. I mean, Zenith 11 Sauron. Surprised he isn't running the enemy though. I think he's just trying to get a little bit of damage out of him. But I'd be interested to see that fight again against me if I was full, just to see what damage Sauron does, or if there is a report anywhere that shows what Sauron does. Because for me, I think his R5 skill is a lot better than the damage skill, because from what I've heard about his sort of damage skills, they don't actually put out that much damage. This is the Ohm fight actually, which I was quite happy with this considering I lost, but again we were using trolls to tank and we were trying to get Dane out the way. This is why Dane managed to do so much damage with him using ranged units. The other people tank to start with for him, which is quite nice. I do have some very nice gear, but to be fair to her, this is, again, genuine house gear. Again, using the classic piece for the initiative. So he's got 21 initiative. This is his Dane. Again, using the classic piece for the initiative, which is quite nice. So he's making sure he's hitting my Dane first, which, even though my Dane out-damaged him, to be fair, yeah, it's a good combination. And again, excellent Saruman. lots of damage in that, and Saruman's unique is one of the better uniques, I would say, in the game. This unrestrained power is a lot like the Lurt skill of Pin Down for and Legolas skill, I guess, but for focus damage, not for physical damage. Makes it quite nice. Been a little bit unlucky with his rolls on the staff by the looks of things. Shame he didn't get a focus roll. Imagine he's a bit annoyed about that, really. But yeah, some really, really high quality commanders. So I was okay with this result. Slightly better military academy for me, and I wasn't quite full, so I feel like we did okay there. A few more, only half a hit there. We seem to keep dying to Mafia, which is annoying, as he actually used to be part of our team, which haven't quite hit him full yet though. But again, we hit a few armies half full. And then this was this is the fight we were talking about beforehand. So I think he'd probably just woken up, and even though that's a nice victory for me, he actually guarded, and he managed to get his gear on his Sauron, which is quite nice. Didn't quite manage to get any gear on Shadow, which probably did him zero favours in this fight. He has got a really nice Astara though, and I wish I had something similar. It's again good. I know he's put a lot of his account into that, fair enough, but similar Gandalf to mine actually, with the way it's ran. So we do actually outgear him in this fight by quite a way, just because the Shadow hasn't got any gear on. But I think otherwise that would have been quite an interesting fight. But it's really just a video to talk about the mechanics and sort of how frustrating it's been really for people, because I think everyone, like you see there, the game's just decided to crash because we're by the pass. It's been one of those sort of few days for people where there's been a lot of frustration. We have enjoyed it though. It's just, I was trying to pick my words there very carefully. I think it's just the fact that unless something changes in the server where people start using diplomacy to actually get anywhere, you can't really push anymore because of the 5-minute tiling. So unless people are literally AFK, I don't think you've necessarily got a route in. But yeah, the game is really, really slow on BlueStacks currently. We'll just go, hopefully when we've loaded up, we'll just go through the barracks a little bit more and what we're trying to achieve there, and probably just show you where we actually are in the kingdom rankings currently. But I think if we as a team, to be honest, could go back and do it again, we probably would have just played Rebuilding Glory. And the irony of it is, it's probably made everyone think differently about 2.0 in general, because I know everyone had this uproar about 2.0. But realistically, I'd take 2.0 over this any day of the week in its current format. So we'll probably just refresh Gandalf. It's going to be no good for my eyes anyway, unless BlueStacks decides to fix itself. So we'll just refill Gandalf. I've been keeping both my main armies at the fort here. So normally when I'm hitting with one, I'm then changing my gear to the infantry troops I've got on Sauron, and then sending Sauron. So I'm getting 2 hits into most people's one, which has kind of helped, I think, with the way the kingdom's gone. As you can see by the kingdom name, where the Deaths loves their path. Where are we? So in this week's merit, I'm 3rd in the Fellowship. Smeagol is a ridiculous whale, to be fair. But in the kingdom itself, which I think you get to now from the season screen. Oh, that was something else to talk about as well, actually, but I'll come to that in a second. So if I look at the leaderboard in here, we're currently in 8th in contribution. It's been hard to come by this season, I'll be honest. The other thing that I've struggled to understand, and I don't know if this is a glitch or not from the devs again, I think we've literally spent more time on this video than what they have on most of the mechanics. So I've got level 40 mobs around me, and I've been converting them with the ring power. But I'm fairly sure if I press on the season that I shouldn't have level 40 mobs yet. So the cap of the mobs after this chapter should be level 30. But if I search, if I don't need to search because there's one here, we have level 40 mobs. Now, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I can nearly use convert to get these into my keep, but just seems odd. Again, not sure if it's another thing that you hadn't quite thought through, but at the moment you can convert these kind of units. It's annoying, the conversion for these, because it's got probably not really the troops that I'd like, so it's arguably better probably just to run the four queues. As far as the power production goes, they seem to have took away the ring level one, which was a bit weird. It's kind of not really changed for a while. I think it's because people are sort of blocked into lands and things like that. So we're still in 12. There's a few that have kind of gone up, so they must be finding some bigger tiles somewhere. You can use eagles now to take tiles in whatever sort of area you want, which is quite handy. But the movement restrictions in a kingdom are really painful for actually fighting people. Again, see, we come away from the past, the game gets less laggy. I think they just need to have a look at how they do that, to be perfectly honest. Again, I'm terrible for this, so I'm just making sure to prove that I do actually donate. But realistically, at this moment in time, I wouldn't recommend people sadly playing this season. And I was quite looking forward to it because I think some of the units are cool, like the flying units are cool, the colossal units are quite cool. What we found is all they actually do is glitch out crossings. If you've got a colossal unit on there, it makes it very hard to sort of do. But I mean, again, we'll just head back to the pass. Even this is just a bit strange. So I don't understand why you would create a mechanic whereby if I want to defend this crossing here, well, this pass as it is, I can't actually sit on the pass. I can sit on the crossing, but I can't march to the pass. I'll show you, it'll be blocked if it comes up. See, it gets so laggy around these passes. Honestly, if you want to defend a pass, just stick 40 armies by the side of it and just get moving backwards and forwards. It'll log everyone out. If by any stretch of the imagination, I can, yeah, there we go. So it won't actually let me move to the pass. Although, actually, all commander's units are killed, but I genuinely promise that you can't actually move to the pass. You can only move in front of it. And like I say, we can't actually stack on here, so these people would have been moving before this person landed. So I'd love to say that I could show you some bigger fight scenes, and there's been some great fights yesterday, to be honest. It did last a long period of time, but it's just at the moment it's painful trying to push forward. If we ever get throughout the seasons could now be a year long, and I don't think we'd even get through the undeeps, which is where we are now, to be perfectly honest. But we'll give it a whirl and carry on anyway. I think I can probably show you now, actually, that mechanic with the pass, because I'm pretty sure Gandalf's just been reinforced. So if I press on the pass, there you go. So affected by enemies, kingdom territory protection, cannot move. So even though we own this tile, I can't move there, which is just beyond me. So the only thing really that we can do at this stage is we could bring up siege and try and get it here, and then try and take out this fort. But we've got to land on a tile, so if I then get sniped inside those 5 minutes, it's kind of irrelevant really. I can't do anything with it. So I will probably wait. I don't know what this means, by the way. This is Atmi's fort, but that's a lot of letters for what it means. I don't know. So it's almost like he's got the alphabet wrong. So while this tile's taken, I'll probably try and move there afterwards, but it's really painful trying to work our way through. If you've got a load of forts, you're just never going to get anywhere. So with that, I think that's pretty much all I've got time for today, and it's a very frustrating, shall we say, sort of few days, because we really thought that after pushing that, we've basically from war got through 110 million siege, which to be fair is no sort of small feat, but we probably could have pushed halfway towards the keep of the Undeeps with some old mechanics, which I think is a fair assessment, but ultimately we just can't seem to get anywhere. And to be honest, when they broke through the other side before, when they owned the pass, they couldn't get through anywhere either. So I just think the devs need to have a look at the mechanics as fast as they can, really. And I wouldn't even be adverse to them pulling this season down and pulling the other seasons down, which are like this, and sort of having a rework on it and actually saying, you know what, we've got it wrong. But you can tell it could be enjoyable. I think it just needs some little changes. But it wasn't just to have a moan about them. I think there's a lot to be suggested about how it works. I would probably, if you're going to keep the 5-minute occupation, there has to be some way of stacking on top of the army that's actually landed on it, so you can protect that army. But really, with the 5-minute occupation, apart from using main formations, I don't see how you can get too far through enemy territory if it's not neutral tiles. So very difficult, I think, is the key. But with that, that's everything I've got time for today. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too moany and ranty, and I hope it sort of helps you understand the new mechanics of how frustrating they can be. But if in doubt, always follow your nose.